All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in our second scene. So as you guys remember, in the last scene, we created a very cool and simple animation using the transform effect and just a simple placement and color theory. Now, in the next scene, we do want to keep things rare. However, we can add another animation here just for the sake of practice. So in this scene, this is what I am saying here. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. So my first question to you is, what does the viewer need to understand from the scene? The viewer needs to understand that sometimes I might say important things, and the word important stands out a lot. So he needs to understand two things. Sometimes, and he needs to understand that I say important things. Sometimes I say important things. So for this reason, we're going to create a very similar scene. What I'm thinking right now in my mind, as I told you guys will get to this a point where you can just quickly come up with an animation. Don't worry too much about it. I know a lot of editors stress early on. They're like, I can't find good animations quickly. Don't worry, take your time with it. Eventually, you're going to find good inspiration. You're going to pick it up inside of After Effects, so don't worry too much about it. But with this being said, what I'm thinking for this kind of animation is we should use, since the viewer is so focused on the center, we should just have an icon of something important pop in at the center and just add a glow to it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to delete the text layers because we're not going to be using these. We're going to be creating an animation. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in my graphics. So this is my background, right? I'm going to hold down Alt and just bring this thing over to this side. And I've got basically my same background over here. And I'm just going to quickly watch through it. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Sometimes here I say sometimes I might say important things like this. So let's just make sure that all our backgrounds are intact and are solid and nothing is crossing over. And so what I'm thinking is literally just having an icon of something important pop up from the middle of the screen into the center using our transform effect and keyframing the position, which I'll show you guys how you can do right now. And then literally just having it glow. It's that simple. So let's go ahead and collect an icon of something important. Let's go over to flat icon like so. Let's go ahead and search up important like this. And there we go. We have a bunch of them. Now, one thing to keep in mind, what kind of colors are we using? We're not going to use random icons. We're not going to use random colored icons. That's one of the biggest beginner mistakes I see made all the time. They use icons, green, yellow, bright blue, whatever it is. Make sure you go down, select to filter out your colors by blue. And we're just going to get a blue icon. Let's go ahead and go with this one. This one looks pretty simple. Let's go ahead and download it as a PNG. And we're going to have it downloaded real quick. And then let's just go ahead and import it into Premiere Pro's project files. And then we're just going to put it into our project file over here. So you guys can see it fits very nicely with the background. Now, you guys can notice it's pretty big. It's out of frame, right? Scale it down. Smaller is better. Put it in the center of the frame. Let's go ahead and add in our transform effect and do our cool animation. So all we got to do is add the transform effect to it. And then we just keyframe the position. Let's move that keyframe forward a little bit. So this is where our animation is going to end at. And let's have the first keyframe. We could just add a first keyframe here, or we could just change the current position. So add another keyframe, have that first keyframe start in the beginning, and then just go back to that beginning like this, and just drop it to under the screen. That's going to make it travel from under the screen to the center of the screen. Now we can just extend this a little more, select both of these, go ahead and open this thing up, and remember, start quick and slow down. Sometimes I might even say important. There we go. And finally, just add a lot of motion blur. Sometimes I might even say important things. There we go. Awesome. I'm going to slow this down a little bit more. Sometimes I might even say important things. All right. Amazing. And now let's go ahead and add a few effects to it. If this thing is a PNG file, we probably can't add a glow because look at what happens. VR glow. Let's go ahead and add a VR glow. Boom. Check out what's about to happen if we fix this. Where is it? 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 This one. Yeah, you guys can see, we could see the edges of the thing. If you guys, by the way, want a quick fix for this, I'm not going to dive into nesting because honestly, you're not going to use it. And if you want to learn it, I'll make a course on it. So just let me know, but you're not going to be needing it. However, the quick fix for this is to nest it. And when you nest something, basically all that happens is instead of the image's borders, so you guys remember how this is a PNG image, I click on the scale, you guys, instead of the borders being here, now when I nest it, it becomes a 1920 by 1080 just like my sequence, and now its borders are all the way out here, so I can actually add a glow to it. Don't stress too much about it. Genuinely don't overcomplicate this, but let's go ahead and add a glow. If you guys want a full course on it, I'll go ahead and make one. Just let me know. So all we got to do is drop my luma threshold all the way down. Let's bump up the glow brightness a little bit, and then let's improve the radius by a lot. Awesome. And that looks super clean, but it also looks really harsh. Let's drop the glow brightness to 1.5. And I'm thinking we use a tint color of light blue. Now all of a sudden the glow is way too harsh, right? So now we need to tone this down by a lot and drop the radius down by a lot. But Let's see, do we really want to go with a light blue? No, let's just leave that as it is. Without a tint color, it already looks pretty solid. And with that being said, guys,
sometimes I might even say important things like this.
That's as simple as it gets. If you guys want to take this a step further, we can add a text behind our PNG saying important. And so all we got to do to do this is we lift this thing up, and then we just duplicate our text from here, or we duplicate another text. It's going to be a lot easier for us. Something like this. We have an animation on this, so don't forget to remove your transform effect. Double click on this and write out important. And this is just to add some extra details. And we're just going to scale this thing up like this, right? Make it pretty big, like that. Let's play around with the glow because it is way too strong. It is way too harsh. Let's play around with the glow brightness and make that thing bigger. And then we're just going to place it, as you guys can see, from the center right behind our icon. And there we go. We just get a cool effect like that.
Sometimes I might even say important.
Now guys, remember, there is now a bright thing behind our bright icon. So it's better to go with a darker color on our bad boy. So we're going to remove the VR glow. We are going to remove the, what else can we remove? Let's see. We're going to remove the drop shadow, and we're just going to set the color to a dark blue, like that. There we go. Awesome. And that just looks so much
I might
better.
even say important things like this.
Awesome. Now, as you guys can see, we run into a second thing here. When we transition from this section to this section, it is very harsh. It's just a harsh cut. So this would be a very good moment to use transitions or to animate things coming out of screen. And the best way you can animate things coming out of screen is to literally add the same transform animation going out. So like all I have here, okay, let's just quickly look at this. So all I've got here, what's happening is my keyframe here is showing that my image starts, my clip starts off screen and moves in, okay? Now, if I add another keyframe for the same position, nothing's going to happen. I just want to quickly show you guys this. You don't need to master it for Premiere Pro, but if I added another keyframe here, nothing is going to happen to my clip. We're focused on the left clip over here, this one, okay? So if I added another keyframe, we're focused on the text, excuse me, keyframe here, nothing is going to happen. However, if I move my playhead to the end and have it keyframe here and then end on the right side like this, then another animation is going to start from here and it's going to end here. And now I have an animation taking it out. So what just happened and why did we do this? Well, if we had the text come in from the right side, we also wanted to leave the right side so that it's all a smooth animation. So what I'm doing is I'm moving my playhead to the end and I want it to leave at the end. So I'm telling Premiere Pro at the end of it, just make sure this text is at the end. The problem is my last keyframe is here, so it thinks that I'm telling it from this point to this point, make it leave at the end. But instead, I want this clip to this text to have a pause here. So I have to tell Premiere Pro, okay, up until this point, nothing is happening. That's why I add a keyframe and I don't change any value. But now if I go all the way till the end and I move my text all the way off the screen, okay, all of a sudden my text is off the screen and I've got an animation going out. I'm just going to smoothen this out. I'm going to have it start slow and then end quick. And why do I do this? Just because since the animation is already going slow, to abruptly change it with a quick spike upwards is going to be rough. But if I slowly bring it into a leaving animation, it's better. So this is our in animation, and then this is our out animation. I'm going to do the same thing for the video and explain it one more time. So Premiere Pro understands over here the video starts out the screen, over here it's on the screen. Now I need to tell it, okay, up to this point, leave it on the screen. And then I need to move my playhead all the way to the end and move my video off of my screen. And if I do this and smoothen out the animation, you'll see what happens. If I make it rough in the beginning, this is what happens.
And I take a few pauses.
You see, you get that rough animation. Instead, if I start it slow and then have it end rough, because the animation's already slow, so keep that flow and momentum going, all of a sudden I get this.
Is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say...
So this is the basic concept of in and out animations. And this is basically how you guys understand animations inside of Premiere Pro. And that is literally it when it comes to animating. That's it. There is concepts for creating in animations, like bringing things in. And the way we've set up this scene is we first understood placement, how we place things, how to color things, and how to make sure everything looks good. And the second thing is we just noticed that there's a rough cut in between these. So the best fix we could do is we could just have one of them animate out. As you guys notice, like also in this section, the word important just pops out of nowhere. So instead of having it pop out of nowhere, we can just add a fade in. And the best way you could do this is you can literally add a cross dissolve, or we could physically animate this to practice your animating more. So we want the opacity here. We're going to play around with the opacity. So we want the opacity to start at 0 and then go up to 100. So I'm going to bring it down to 0 and add a keyframe and tell Premiere Pro that at the beginning of the clip, start it at 0. And I'm just going to tell it that somewhere around here, just move it up to 100. And I don't have to smoothen out this
Sometimes I
animation.
might even say important
This one can
things.
be simple. And you just notice, just something as
Video
simple as
is where
this
I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say
will just
important
make the
things.
animation look so much more seamless. And that's how you achieve flow inside of animations. You set up 2 different scenes. You don't worry too much about the flow first. You set up the different scenes, but then you think to yourself, okay, this is a rough part. If the scene is seamless already, perfect, leave it that way. But if this is a rough transition, then I just think, okay, how do I animate things off of my screen so that moving into my second scene, then we have a smoother transition. And that's kind of how you do it. So guys, remember, it all starts with the basic question. What do my viewers need to understand from this clip? Then it moves on to the second question. How do I show this in a high quality way using my placement theory? And then it's the more important question, which is, okay, what kind of colors do I want to use and how do I want to show this? And then you do the actual application. And then it's finally, okay, everything is set in stone. How do I animate these elements into my scene? And with this being said, guys, this is the fundamentals of understanding. If you guys feel like you don't really understand how we animated all of this, I want you guys to kind of go back through the last 2 courses, okay? I want you guys to take your time. We've designed these courses, as I mentioned in the beginning, in a way where we could teach you Premiere Pro quickly. However, if there is any moment where you feel like this stuff is going too fast, by all means go back and please, please, please send me or John a DM about, or whoever is the admin or moderator or whoever's helping with the community, just send them a message or send me a message just telling me, hey Joseph, I was going through this course. I just want to let you know I had to rewatch this course to understand it. So I'd really appreciate if you like make an extra course just kind of explaining this, and I will make an extra course explaining these concepts. So with this being said, guys, if you understand it fully, it's time to move on to the next section, which I'll tell you about in just a bit. But if you don't, please go back through the first 2 courses to be able to create this kind of animation. And with this being said, let's enjoy our animation and our full edit one more time.
This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless.
Now, as you guys notice, it is a rough cut between here and here. So you can also create a transition there, but there's no need, okay? So with this being said, guys, now you're at a point where you know how to do raw footage, you know how to do text very well, and you know how to do animations. You're not the best because you haven't dived into, After Effects, but we're still really, really good if you are able to make these animations and use colors and placement like this. So with this being said, you are an editor now who doesn't just understand fundamentals, you actually understand complex concepts like placement theory. Editors learn placement theory like 3 months into editing, right? Editors learn color theory like a year into editing. So now you understand these concepts. So first of all, I just want to say amazing job getting this far, okay? Like genuinely, like pat yourself on the back. Like this takes a lot of effort to get up to this point. So I just want to say, if you are watching through these courses, amazing job, my man. Like you're doing absolutely amazing, right? But now the next section is the big part, which is where Premiere Pro stands out. We're now going to dive into understanding sound design and music, and this is where things get interesting. Sound design and music is Premiere Pro's specialty. Premiere Pro is amazing at sound design and music, and we're always going to be, from now on till the rest of your editing career, you're always going to be using Premiere Pro for sound design and music, okay? And so for this reason, in the next set of courses, we're going to be diving deep into sound design and understanding what good sound design is and how we can achieve good sound design. And from there on, we're going to build the fundamental skills of sound design. If you guys are struggling with any part of this course, please make sure to send me a message. If not, that is amazing. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive straight into sound design and master stage number 4 of becoming an expert editor. Right there, guys, so keep pushing.